The Woman Who Collected Sunrises. Today's story is about a woman who learned to rise again, not through discipline, not through force, not through pushing herself harder, but through the softest of rituals, one sunrise at a time. It is a story of awakening, of remembering, of finding her way back to herself. Let her journey settle into you like warmth spreading through cold hands. Slowly, gently, naturally. Now let's begin. There was once a woman whose life had become a series of quiet exhaustions. On the outside, nothing looked wrong. She smiled when she needed to. She showed up for others. She completed tasks. She kept going. But inside, she felt like a candle that had burned too low. The flame was still there, but it flickered, tired, thin, fighting to stay lit. She didn't know when it started. There was no single moment when everything became too much. It happened slowly, the way the tide goes out, grain by grain. She had responsibilities piling quietly on her shoulders, dreams she didn't have time for, emotions she never had the space to feel. And somewhere along the way, she stopped recognizing the woman she had become. One night, a night when her mind felt loud and her heart felt heavy, she woke before dawn, unable to fall back to sleep. The air in her room felt still. Her thoughts felt tangled. Her body felt restless. So she stepped outside. The world was quiet, as if holding its breath. The kind of quiet that feels ancient, sacred, like the universe is waiting for something. Her bare feet met the cool earth, and she wrapped her arms around herself, not from cold, but from a need for comfort she hadn't admitted she needed. As she stood in the early darkness, she noticed a faint glow behind the distant hills, a gentle wash of pale gold pushing away the edges of night. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a spectacle. It was soft, humble, and profoundly peaceful. She breathed in and felt something inside her loosen. A tiny, almost imperceptible shift that felt like the first real inhale she had taken in weeks. She didn't know why, but she felt called to stay and watch the sunrise. As the sky brightened, pink melting into peach, lavender brushing the edges of clouds, she felt her chest warm in a way she couldn't explain. It wasn't happiness exactly. It was relief, recognition, a remembering of something she had lost, herself. The next morning, she woke early again, not from insomnia this time, but from a quiet pull, a gentle tug on her spirit. And again, she stepped outside and watched the day unfold in slow, graceful color. It became her ritual, her secret, her sanctuary. She didn't tell anyone about it, not because she wanted to hide it, but because she wanted something, anything that existed only for her. Every sunrise had its own personality. Some days were bold, bright orange blazing across the sky like a fire discovering its confidence. Some days were delicate, soft ribbons of lavender and rose stretching slowly, as if waking from a dream. Some days were cloudy, the sun hidden, visible only as a faint glow behind the mist. But she learned something important. Even on the quiet, clouded mornings, the sun still rose. She realized that she too could rise even when she didn't feel radiant or ready or perfect. Sometimes rising simply meant showing up. Sometimes rising meant breathing. Sometimes rising meant letting herself be still. The more sunrises she collected, the more she began to hear things she had forgotten to listen for. Like the sound of her own breathing, that soft rhythm she had taken for granted, and the whispers of her intuition, the quiet knowing she had ignored for far too long. She began to notice the way her shoulders slowly dropped during those early mornings, falling from the stiff place they had lived for years. She noticed the air, cool and pure, touching her skin in a way that felt like kindness. She noticed the hush of nature just before the sun broke through, a stillness that felt like permission to stop carrying everything alone. The sunrises became a mirror, a teacher, a companion. Some mornings she felt emotional, as if the golden light was illuminating parts of her heart she didn't realize were aching. Other mornings she felt peaceful, as if each ray of light was a soft reminder that she was allowed to rest. And over time, the sunrises revealed something deeper. She had been living as if she were responsible for holding the world together. But she wasn't. She never was. She began releasing things she once held too tightly. The pressure to be everything, the fear of disappointing others, the guilt for wanting more, the exhaustion she had normalized. And as she let go, something surprising happened. She began to glow. Not like the sun, but like the gentle sky that receives its light. She began to feel lighter, softer, more herself. One morning, after weeks of her sunrise ritual, she stepped outside, expecting to feel the usual quiet comfort. But instead, she felt something else, something warm and unexpected. Hope. Not loud hope, not dramatic hope, just a quiet shimmer in her chest that said, "You're going to be okay." She didn't know where it came from. She didn't question it. She simply let it spread like golden light through her body. And as she stood there, bathed in the colors of the dawn, a realization washed over her. She wasn't collecting sunrises. She was collecting moments of returning to herself, moments of clarity, moments of peace, moments where her heart whispered what she had forgotten. You deserve gentleness. You deserve slowness. You deserve space. You deserve beginnings, as many as you need. In that moment, she understood something profound. The sunrise wasn't her ritual. She was the sunrise. She was the one awakening. She was the one softening. She was the one rising again after a long, difficult night. And from that day forward, when she woke early and stepped outside, she didn't watch the sunrise to escape her life. She watched it to remember her strength, her softness, her worthiness, her possibility. Because every sunrise whispered the same truth. You can begin again, at any time, in any season, in any way your heart needs. She still collects sunrises, not to fix herself, not to prove anything, but to honor the woman she is becoming. A woman who rises gently, gracefully, beautifully, in her own time, just like the sun.